Greetings, dear listeners. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Arizona Democratic Party for mailing us today's show material. Producer-Wife Beth got this lovely thing in the mail yesterday that we're going to cover because it's ridiculous, quite honestly. And honestly, what we're going to get into here, I'm in Arizona. This is like local politics, but what we're going to talk about kind of plays out nationally, and it's kind of the dishonesty of everything that goes on, the bending of words, the picking out of one or two sound bites and then applying them to what you think people want to hear about how bad the other person is. And it's sad because if you think about it, our candidates, quite honestly, across the country spend so little time telling us what it is that they are about and what it is that they want to do, and so much time hammering on their opponent, that it's no wonder that government fails us. It's no wonder that everything is crashing down around us, because we send these people and we really have no idea what they're about. We just know how much we hated the other guy. And that is pathetic, for lack of a better way to put it. So we're going to dig into this thing because it's entertaining. My name is Dan. This is the Soule of Wisdom. If you haven't visited us before, welcome. It is nice to have you here. If you haven't done so with this channel, please do take a moment to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And before you leave this episode, please do take a moment to hit the like button. All of these things help us get found, and we appreciate it. Alrighty, let's just dig right in. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, this is on your screen. If you're on the podcast side, I'll describe what we're looking at. I scanned in this little flyer that was sent. Again, this is from the Arizona Democratic Party, and it is put out to slam Blake Masters. Blake is the Republican candidate for Senate. It is a seat currently held by a Democrat, and the hope is on the Republican side to get Blake Masters elected. And that race is tightening. Mark Kelly holds the seat right now, and it's pretty neck and neck at the moment, despite, honestly, the fact that the Republican national money has been pulled out of Arizona because they thought that this was not going to be a winnable race, and now all of a sudden it looks like it might be. So Blake's kind of been on his own. But anyways, so let's look at this thing. It says, Blake Masters said abortion rights are, quote, demonic and a, quote, religious sacrifice. And they were kind enough to put a Ouija board underneath that little quote in quotation marks, because it's not real accurate, as we'll get into. And when they spelled out demonic, they used the same font as what's on the Ouija board, so that's a nice touch as well. So if we go to page 2 of this thing, again, this is on your screen if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, it says Blake Masters said he wanted to ban all abortions with no exceptions. And then there's 3 quotes. First quote is, absolutely no abortions. Second quote is, the federal government needs to step in, ... No state can permit abortion. Pro tip, anytime there's 3 dots in the middle of a quote, it's been altered. Its meaning has been altered. And then the third quote, it's demonic, and I think we have to put a stop to, and then in brackets, abortion. Again, anytime you see something in brackets, I would also, suspect that slightly. And again, we've been kind enough to feature a Ouija board at the bottom of that one. And then the third page of this, hear for yourself, and there's a QR code where you can scan and hear what Blake has to say, I suppose. And then kind of a overly doctored mildly demonic looking picture of Blake Masters. And then it says Blake Masters is dangerous for Arizona, with dangerous again being in the Ouija board font, which I find to be a lovely touch. Let's go back to page 2, because at the bottom it says check the facts. And then it references two things: Tucson Weekly, October 7th, 2021. And then it says Queen Creek Santan Valley Republican Women Meeting, 2/8 of 22. So I decided that we should play. Let's go ahead and check the facts. I will tell you straight away that on this page, again, quotes 1 and 3 are cited from this Tucson Weekly article, and I could get that, and we are going to take a look at it. But the Queen Creek Santan Republican Women Meeting that quote 2 is cited from, the one with the ... in the middle of it, I can't find that material anywhere. There's no video of it that I can find. There's no transcript. There's no anything. If you go to their website, this Queen Creek Santan Republican Women, they have a site. If you go to it, there is like a member area, and it's possible that you can access this material there, but there's nothing public that I can find. So I cannot confirm or deny this quote, the one in the middle here, the one that says the federal government needs to step in ... no state can permit abortion. But I will tell you again, anything with 3 dots in it, I think has to be suspect. And I would encourage you to take that one with several grains of salt and maybe a little bit of pepper for flavor as well. So we can pull up the Tucson Weekly thing. So I did. And let's look at that. But first, let's talk about Tucson Weekly. Tucson Weekly is, by really its own admission, a progressive rag. It is categorized as a tabloid. And I don't think it's at all serious reporting. And I don't think that because if you look right here where I'm pointing on the screen, it says news and opinion. And if you look at their header up top, news and opinion, all categorized under the same area. And that is one of the dangerous things. You know, I talked in yesterday's video about this idea that reporting, you can't trust its accuracy anymore because it's filled with things like mights and maybes, and it's filled with things like opinions. Well, here they're just flat out admitting it. We're going to combine news and opinion together and you figure it out. So that's the first problem. But this article was from 2021. This was before the Republican primary even took place. And there were several candidates running. Blake Masters did win that primary. He is the Republican candidate. But nonetheless, let's dig into what they have to say. Scrolling down a little bit to the section about Blake Masters, tech edgelord Blake Masters, who is making his political debut backed by bazillionaire Peter Thiel. So already, if you're questioning whether or not this is news or opinion, since they put it under the news and opinion section, it's opinion, because they use words like bazillion, which wouldn't be used in regular reporting, because there's no such thing. Anyways, told the Relatable podcast last week that he's, quote, unapologetically pro-life and believes Roe versus Wade was, quote, a horrible decision. He said he believed Congress should pass a, quote, personhood law. Quote, absolutely no abortions, said Masters, who then qualified that a compromise might allow states to allow, quote, some amount of abortions. He added that abortion rights supporters see abortion as a, quote, religious sacrifice. Quote, I think it's demonic, said Masters, and I think we have to put a stop to it. So, if we're reading what the Tucson Weekly has to say here, they're saying, by the way they're framing these quotes, that Masters said absolutely no abortions and that the right sees abortion as a religious sacrifice and that he thinks it's demonic and we have to put a stop to it. And all of that would relate back to abortion, the way you read that. And it matches up with what they put on here, where he says absolutely no abortions. And it's demonic, and I think we have to put a stop to abortion. Again, I'm on the screen. I've gone back to page 2 of this lovely flyer that the producer-wife Beth received in the mail. So they accurately, I guess, quoted Tucson Weekly, but Tucson Weekly didn't accurately quote Blake Masters. The lovely thing is they were nice enough to tell us that this came from his appearance on the Relatable podcast. The Relatable podcast is run by Allie Beth Stuckey. She is right-leaning in her politics. She is unapologetically pro-life. She is unapologetically a religious person, just so we're all on the same page. But let's listen to what Blake Masters had to say to Allie Beth Stuckey on these matters. This first one, well, let's just go ahead and play it and hear what Blake has to say. I've got 2 clips. This is clip 1.
Got to get rid of that. I think the federal government has a role to play here. I think that Congress should have a debate and, pick a certain point and say, no, we're going to recognize right here federal personhood, and, past that, absolutely no abortions. Maybe they leave some amount for the states below that. I think that's a workable compromise we could get to in the next 2 or 3 years.
Okay. So the first thing that you should know is that this interview with Allie Beth Stuckey on the Relatable podcast happened before Roe v. Wade was taken up by the Supreme Court and eventually overturned. So he's talking from a position where abortion is still under the Roe mandate in how it operates. But what he said here was not accurately reflected by the Tucson BS reporting, and then on this lovely little flyer thing here that was received in the mail. What he said very clearly was that he believes that there should be a debate, or he believed at the time. Circumstances have changed now, obviously, with the overturning of Roe, but he believed at the time that there should be a debate in Congress, and he said, select a point where personhood is recognized. So he's saying we agree on a date. And then after that date, absolutely no abortions. Now, Congress could have conceivably debated and decided that was 6 weeks or 20 weeks or, hell, 38 weeks. Who knows? But what he was arguing for was, let's set a standard and say, after this standard, after this time, you're recognized as a person and absolutely no abortions. That's hell and gone from what they're claiming here, where they're claiming he just said straight up absolutely no abortions. It's not what he said. Not even close. But this is the lies that go on. And oh, by the way, just for fairness, this goes on in both directions. It does. Let's be honest. I don't care how heavy to the left or however to the right you are, this is the state of our politics. It's how bad is the other person and how can we frame him as the devil. And here they literally are with the Ouija board. Anyways, let's play clip 2 from Blake Masters. And this one will have to do with the quote where he supposedly said it's demonic and I think we have to put a stop to, and then abortion was in brackets. Let's listen to this.
You see, Allie, how the abortion thing has turned into this religious totem for the left, right? In the 90s, they promised they just wanted abortion to be safe, legal, and rare. And now it's like you have activists wearing their shirts, with the tally marks on how many abortions they've had. And this is the cultural thrust of it. It's a religious sacrifice to these people. I think it's demonic. And I think we got to put a stop to it.
Okay. He's talking there about the culture shift. And he's talking, and it's true. These people, they're out there and they're, the shout your abortion crowd, right? These people who are out there making known how many abortions they've had, whether it be through tally marks on their shirts, like he's said, or just statements that are made. You have these different celebrities that have come out and said, I've had 2 abortions, I've had 3, I've had 4, whatever. This is going on. And when he's saying it's demonic and I think we have to put a stop to it, my take on it, in listening, when you frame it around what he's talking about, is I think he's referring to the culture and how we're suddenly shouting abortions as this great thing. And he has a point. They were saying that it was safe, legal, and rare a decade or 2 ago. I'm old enough to remember this. It was definitely the thing. That was the push. We don't want it, but we should have the right, and it should be safe, legal, and rare. Where now it's like, it is almost a religious thing to the people who are so for it. And he's pointing out that that viewpoint, that idea, is the demonic thing, and it needs to be put to an end. That's what he's saying. Now, for them to take that quote and label it directly to abortion is disingenuous, because he was talking more about the culture right there. Now, does that backtrack to abortion? Well, yes, because he's talking about the culture around abortion. But when he's talking about something being demonic and that we have to put a stop to it, he's talking about how these people are handling it. So again, it's not a direct quote of what he said. But this sort of thing is what's going on everywhere all the time. And the sad thing is very few people are going to take the time to do what I just did. They're going to receive this flyer in the mail or something similar wherever you are with whatever candidates you have. And it's going to make some outrageous claim, and it's going to look bad. And they're just going to go, I guess this is a bad dude or lady or however they identify. Instead of digging in and saying, well, I wonder if this is true. This is how our politics has devolved. And we wonder why we have problems with government. We wonder why we don't trust it anymore. Well, because we're electing assholes, frankly, on both sides who just go out and win by destroying the other side. That is how we're in the position that we're in. If we're going to save this country, if we're going to allow this country to work the way that it should, if we're going to support democracy, as they say, even though we're a representative republic and not a democracy, but whatever. If we're going to save our country as it is, then we need to, each one of us, take responsibility to fact check everything. To go out and do your own homework and your own research. But unfortunately, it's crap like this that works. And how pathetic is that? That we've devolved to this point where we can get a flyer and go, oh, he must be the devil, I'll vote for the other person. But that's the state of our politics. It's not just here in Arizona, it's everywhere. We've got to take the time to do our own homework and figure out what's really going on. And figure out what somebody stands for. And if you can't figure out what they actually stand for, then you shouldn't vote for them, even if they do have that D or that R behind their name that you might be looking for. If you can't figure out what it is that they're about and want to do, they shouldn't get your vote, regardless of party affiliation. And that's going to be the case for me. If I can't figure out who somebody really is, then they haven't earned my trust, and therefore they haven't earned my vote. One real kicker I will leave you with before we go. Again, this lovely Blake Masters' dangerous flyer that Producer-Wife Beth got with her name on it, by the way. Producer-Wife is a registered Republican who is unapologetically pro-life. And they spent the money to send this to her like it's going to change her damn mind. Well, whatever. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments. Are you seeing stuff like this in your area? Have you noticed that political advertising is all about the hate on the opponent rather than what it is that I'm going to do? Because it certainly is every place I've looked. The question is, have you noticed it? And do you think it's important that you do your homework and your research before you go to the polls? And are you actually going to do it? Or are you just going to trust this tripe that they're sending you? Let me know in the comments. Just do please be respectful. That is all I ask. I am going to go ahead and leave it there until the next time I see you. Thank you for watching.